Sergio Perez, spurred on by the electrifying cheers of his home crowd, managed to turn his Mexican Grand Prix into something closer to a disaster reel. It all began with an early penalty that pushed him to the back of the lineup, setting the stage for a tumultuous race. But things didn't stop there. Perez narrowly avoided a crash with Lawson, a young and ambitious driver who's eagerly eyeing Perez's spot at Red Bull. Lawson isn't just another newcomer, he's determined to make his presence felt. With Perez stumbling in recent performances, Lawson's chances of grabbing that seat are looking increasingly realistic. The big question now is what exactly happened between Perez and Lawson on the track? And how did things spiral even further after the race ended? This latest incident has many wondering if a fierce rivalry is brewing for that prized Red Bull seat. Perez's place in the team has been debated for some time, and it's becoming harder to ignore. Red Bull has always been a team with championship aspirations, not one that's content with mid-pack finishes. Yet here we are, watching Perez stumble from one controversy to the next, with key team members even departing before the season's close. Red Bull's dream season now feels like it's teetering on the edge of a nightmare. With Max Verstappen maintaining an impressive lead, yet facing challenges, the question looms larger than ever: is it time for Red Bull to reconsider Perez's place following his Mexican Grand Prix blunder? During the race, Perez openly criticized Lawson, who's competing for the 2025 Red Bull Formula One seat, accusing him of lacking respect for seasoned drivers. Perez even suggested that Red Bull's management should intervene, but team principal Christian Horner's quiet response hinted that Perez's complaints might not carry much weight within the team. The incident unfolded in the early laps, with Perez attempting to overtake Lawson for 10th position. Initially successful, Perez soon found himself in a heated tussle as Lawson fought back, resulting in contact that left Perez's car damaged, impacting both his side pod and floor. This contact forced Perez to limp through the rest of the race, ultimately finishing in a disappointing 17th place, just behind Lawson, who also had a later collision with Williams driver Franco Capino. Both drivers vented their frustrations over team radio, with Lawson even making an impulsive hand gesture toward Perez as he passed. After the race, Perez openly criticized Lawson's aggressive driving, suggesting that he could have avoided the collision with a bit more caution. This incident, combined with Lawson's recent clash with Fernando Alonso in Austin, pointed to a pattern that concerned Perez. He argued that Lawson's on-track behavior was reckless and caused unnecessary damage, costing both drivers valuable positions. When asked about his relationship with Lawson, Perez admitted that there wasn't much of one. He felt that Lawson's attitude lacked the humility needed for a successful Formula One career. While Perez acknowledged Lawson's raw talent, he suggested that without a change in perspective, Lawson might struggle to secure a lasting place in the sport. He emphasized that racing is not just about skill, but also respect both for other drivers and the high-stakes environment of Formula One. In his view, Lawson's recent actions fell short of that mark. Perez didn't hold back from advising Lawson on the importance of learning from these incidents. He stressed that respecting fellow competitors is crucial, and that careless actions can impact not only individual races but also team outcomes. When pressed on whether Red Bull's management should step in to address Lawson's driving approach, Perez suggested that it was ultimately up to the team. However, he pointed out that the incident had cost Red Bull valuable points, hinting that a conversation with Lawson might be warranted. Horner, however, took a more hands-off stance. He acknowledged the damage Perez sustained but described the incident as an unfortunate part of racing, emphasizing that aggressive competition on the track is inevitable. According to Horner, Perez and Lawson were racing independently, and such clashes are common in a sport where every driver is pushing to their limit. Lawson, for his part, was also vocal after the incident, expressing frustration over what he felt was unfair treatment on the track. Although his reaction included a brief, impulsive gesture, Lawson later regretted it, admitting that it wasn't in line with his true character. He acknowledged that high-stakes situations can test composure, and in hindsight, he realized he should have handled the moment differently. When asked about Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko's thoughts on the incident, Lawson admitted that the gesture likely wouldn't sit well with Marko, noting that it was out of character and something he planned to learn from. Despite Lawson's apology, tensions between him and Perez persisted. Lawson continued to hold Perez partly responsible for their collision on lap 18, indicating a level of frustration with the veteran driver's approach. Meanwhile, Sky Sports commentator Martin Brundle weighed in, suggesting that Lawson's driving was indeed questionable. Brundle remarked that Lawson barely left enough room for Perez on the inside and moved within the braking zone, which created a risky scenario. His assessment leaned toward Perez, assigning Lawson the majority of the blame, but he recognized that no penalties were issued, leaving the situation unsettled. Rumors of a potential head-to-head showdown for the Red Bull seat between Lawson and Perez only added fuel to the fire, with this clash serving as a possible turning point in Red Bull's decision-making. Should Red Bull decide that Lawson is ready to partner with Max Verstappen, it might signal the end of Perez's time with the team. On the flip side, if Perez retains his seat, Lawson would likely remain a reserve driver for the time being. For Perez, this moment couldn't be more crucial, especially as one of his primary advocates within the team has recently expressed doubts about his performance. Horner addressed the uncertainty, noting that the team is built on performance and that, eventually, hard decisions have to be made. Despite the upheaval, Perez appeared unfazed, confidently asserting that he has no worries about his future and fully expects to be back next season. He boldly stated that he intends to compete for victories, reflecting his confidence and resilience. Having weathered numerous challenges throughout his career, Perez has managed to stay afloat even as Red Bull undergoes significant changes, but Lawson's rise has added a fresh dynamic. As the Perez-Lawson rivalry unfolds, Max Verstappen, Red Bull's top driver, also faced a turbulent race in Mexico. Verstappen's race was marred by controversy and penalties, adding even more tension to Red Bull's internal dynamics. In two separate incidents with McLaren's Lando Norris, Verstappen found himself penalized first for allegedly pushing Norris off track, and later for re-entering ahead of him after going off track. The penalties were a bitter irony for Verstappen, as Norris had been penalized in Austin for a similar maneuver against him, highlighting the steward's more stringent enforcement. Reflecting on the penalties, Verstappen downplayed the officiating, instead pointing to Red Bull's difficulties with car performance. He emphasized that their race pace was subpar on both medium and hard tires, severely limiting his ability to contend with the top drivers. By the end, Verstappen finished in P6, unable to compete with the Mercedes drivers ahead of him. His car struggled with grip and braking, leaving him frustrated and looking ahead to the Brazilian Grand Prix with cautious optimism, despite Red Bull's pace challenges. Verstappen acknowledged that adapting to Red Bull's recent pace issues was essential, especially after the Mexico Grand Prix, where the car's limitations were glaring. He spoke about how he's learning from each race and considering how potential rule changes may affect strategy moving forward. Meanwhile, Lando Norris was steadily climbing the ranks, closing the gap in the driver's standings to within 47 points of Verstappen, with only 4 races left. The pressure is building, and if Verstappen were to slip, it could spark significant changes within Red Bull. With the Brazilian Grand Prix just around the corner, Red Bull faces mounting stakes, not just for Verstappen but for its entire driver lineup. Christian Horner's recent comments hinted that changes might be on the table, stirring speculation about Red Bull's plans. Will Liam Lawson be promoted to a full-time driver alongside Verstappen, or might Daniel Ricciardo make a surprise return? This uncertainty amplifies the tension within the team as the season reaches its climax. As the season nears its conclusion, all eyes are on Red Bull Racing. Fans are eager to see if Verstappen can regain his dominant form and fend off challengers like Norris. The intense scrutiny on Perez's situation, combined with the potential reshuffling of Red Bull's lineup, has everyone speculating. Each race brings new challenges and developments, and with the Brazilian Grand Prix Rex approaching, the anticipation is only building. This final stretch promises to deliver high drama as Red Bull navigates its way through internal struggles and competitive pressures. The stakes have never been higher for Perez, Verstappen, and perhaps even Lawson, as each driver faces the pressure of solidifying their place in one of Formula One's most coveted teams. For fans and analysts alike, the story is set to unfold in a gripping fashion, with Red Bull's next moves holding the potential to reshape the grid and set the stage for the next season. As the dust settles on yet another dramatic chapter in Formula One, Red Bull Racing stands at a pivotal crossroads, with crucial decisions looming on the horizon. Sergio Perez, under mounting pressure and scrutiny, faces a career-defining moment where every move, every lap, and every finish could dictate his future with one of the most prestigious teams on the grid. Meanwhile, young talents like Lawson bring fresh ambition and undeniable skill, creating an intense atmosphere as he vies for a seat alongside Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen's journey, too, is far from predictable, with rival drivers edging closer in the standings and car performance emerging as a critical factor. Red Bull's grip on dominance seems tested as the season wears on, with Verstappen striving to overcome mechanical and competitive obstacles. The balance between his vast experience and rising competition means that each race ahead will be a strategic battle of both skill and endurance. And let's not forget, there's more to come. With the Brazilian Grand Prix as in the remaining races just around the corner, Red Bull faces immense stakes in not only securing points but in redefining the path forward. Will Perez rise above recent setbacks, reinforcing his position with Red Bull, or will the team's faith shift toward promising new drivers? And can Verstappen cement his season, reclaiming his formidable pace, or will rivals like Norris continue to close in? As fans, we're on the edge of our seats. This season finale's shaping up to be one for the history books, with championship titles and career trajectories hanging in the balance. The high-speed world of Formula One is all about split-second decisions, resilience, and adapting under pressure, and Red Bull is right at the heart of it. With each upcoming race, the tension escalates, and the path toward next season's lineup becomes clearer. So whether you're a dedicated fan of Perez, a supporter of Lawson's rise, or just here for the thrill of every overtake, stay tuned because Formula One never fails to deliver, and this Red Bull saga promises to be a showstopper. Buckle up, because this journey is far from over, and the best is yet to come.